In Argentina, an armed individual who allegedly attempted on the life of Vice President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner has been arrested. Also in Chile, the supporters of the approval and rejection of the new constitution are holding their campaign closing events ahead of the constitutional plebiscite next Sunday, September 4th. And the Caribbean community, Caricom Secretary General Dr. Carla Bannett said that there is a need to strengthen and streamline the infrastructure to support trade between Africa and Caricom. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. In Argentina, an armed individual who allegedly attempted on the life of Vice President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner has been arrested. The event took place within the framework of the vigil held by Fernandez supporters in the vicinity of her residence over the political and judicial persecution against her. The event, which was recorded live by local media, took place after 8 p.m. local time when Fernandez was returning from presiding over a Senate session. The vice president approached her supporters when an individual among the crowd pointed a gun at her before being subdued by those present and the leader's security detail. The suspect is already in police custody and was carrying a .22 caliber Berza handgun. He had been identified as 35-year-old Fernando Andrés Sebag Montiel. In a statement after the incident, the bloc of deputies and government representatives in Argentina condemned the assassination attempt against Vice President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner and urged politicians, the media and the people to do the same. President Alberto Fernandez called the attempt an attack on democracy and said society must eradicate hate and violence from the media and political discourse. The head of state declared Friday a national holiday for the country to rally together in support of the Vice President. In this regard, the Vice President's lawyer, Gregorio Dalbon, said, "They attacked the Vice President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner. We won't stop until we know who it was." The Minister of People's Power for Foreign Affairs of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Carlos Faria, condemned in his Twitter account the assassination attempt against the Vice President of Argentina, Cristina Fernandez. The diplomat also rejected the violent act and expressed his solidarity with the brave Cristina. Former Bolivia's President Evo Morales Ayma condemned the assassination attempt on Argentina's Vice President Cristina Fernandez. On his Twitter account, he wrote, end quote, "We condemned the cowardly assassination attempt against our sister Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner. All our solidarity to the Vice President. The great homeland is with you, sister. The criminal and servile right to imperialism will not pass. The free and worthy people of Argentina defeat her." End of quote. The Executive Secretary of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America People's Trade Treaty, Sasha Lorenti, also condemned the assassination attempt on his Twitter account, where he wrote, "We are dismayed by the attempted assassination of the Vice President of Argentina, Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner. We condemned and repudiate these terrible events and express our solidarity with her, her family, and the Argentine people. Hate will not win." Cuba's President Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez also joined the voices of condemnation of the assassination attempt on Argentina's Vice President Cristina Fernandez, writing on his Twitter account, "From Cuba, dismayed by the assassination attempted against Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, we convey all solidarity to the Vice President, the government, and the Argentine people." And Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro Moros also condemned the assassination attempt on his Twitter account. He wrote, "We send our solidarity to the Vice President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner in the face of the attempt on her life. We strongly reject this action that seeks to destabilize the peace of the Argentine people. The great homeland is with you." And finally, social movements linked to the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America People's Trade Treaty also condemned the assassination attempt on Vice President Cristina Fernandez and wrote in his Twitter account, "From all of Our America, we strongly denounce the assassination attempt on Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner. This attack is the consequence of right-wing hate speech on the continent. The peoples of the entire region are with Cristina." Argentina's President Alberto Fernandez addressed the nation on national television after the assassination attempt on Vice President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner.
Since we have recovered our democracy, this is the most serious attempt we have suffered.
President Fernandez stressed the effects of the assassination attempt on all society and how it goes against the rules of democracy.
This attempt deserves the most energetic repudiation of our society, from all political sectors, of all men and women of the Republic, because this affects our democracy. We must recover our democracy against the hatred speech that has invaded all our political spaces of Argentinian society. We can have profound differences, but a democratic society cannot be the house of hatred-promoting speeches and actions.
We move on to other topics. The supporters of the approval and rejection of the new constitution are holding their campaign closing events this Thursday ahead of the constitutional plebiscite next Sunday, September 4th. The approve and reject options were able to publicly expose their campaigns before the electoral ban goes into effect this Friday. The campaign has been developed with a lot of information, but also with misrepresentation on the proposal of the new Carta Magna by the conservative sectors, as social organizations have manifested. The plebiscite comes as a result of the demands and the social outburst of 2019, which sought the re-establishment of a political charter with greater social rights. In this regard, citizens expressed their opinion on the approval of the Constitution.
I approve. My family all approve. Because I hope that everything will be better for my grandchildren. I believe that Chile must change. We must change.
I was exiled in the largest and most beautiful country in the world, which is Venezuela. I was silenced for 20 years by the dictatorship of Pinochet, and the right wing, which is represented in the rejection and has always been against the poor and most needy. That is why I vote for the approval.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. Prices in the British shops rose at the highest rate since at least 2005 this month, as Britain's battled soaring costs on everything from gasoline to crisps. The British Retail Consortium said that shop price inflation accelerated to 5.1% in August, a new record for the index, which was started in 2005 and up from 4.4% in July. Food price increases hit 9.3%, with milk, margarine, and crisps seeing the biggest rises. This level of food inflation could continue for at least another 6 months, according to Nielsen, which produces the data from the BRC. Britons are preparing for a recession that will potentially last more than a year, and for soaring energy bills, a dual leadership contest plays out to decide who will succeed Boris Johnson as Prime Minister next week. And the movement of non-aligned countries, MNOL, celebrates its 61st anniversary. The MNOAL is a group of states founded in 1961 during the Cold War in the context of the global geopolitical and ideological conflict of the second half of the 20th century. The movement held its first conference summit in Belgrade in the former Yugoslavia, attended by 29 countries that identified themselves with the opposition to colonialism. Currently, the movement has 120 members, 17 observer states, 9 observer organizations, and deals with a variety of issues on the multilateral agenda. Now we address other topics. Local authorities reported that 3 people were killed in the city of Energodar after a new aggression by the Ukrainian armed forces near the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. According to the report, the shelling resulted in 1 wounded and 2 kindergartens set on fire. In addition, the head of the city administration, Alexander Volga, informed that a Ukrainian detachment landed on the outskirts of Energodar, located on the left bank of the Dnieper. And the team dispatched by the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, the United Nations nuclear watchdog, has passed through the Basilic checkpoint on Thursday to inspect the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, Europe's largest nuclear facility. The IAEA, the mission, headed by the agency's chief, Rafael Grossi, is comprised of experts from 10 countries except Russia and Ukraine. The team will need a few days to carry out the mission, which includes talking to the power plant's staff. The international agency is also planning to establish a permanent presence at the site. The Russian Defense Ministry said in a statement that the Ukrainian artillery shelled the premises of the Zaporizhia power plant and the surrounding Vasilievka village, with 4 shells exploding at a distance of 400 meters from the power unit number 1 of the plant. The Russian government reiterates that it will not send oil to the countries that adhere to the initiative to establish a cap on oil market prices. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak said on Thursday that Russia will not work under non-market conditions and that the initiative to set a maximum price for Russian crude oil will not prosper. Earlier, the president of the Russian Central Bank, Elvira Nabiullina, had announced that Moscow will not supply oil and oil derivatives to those who adhere to this imposition, and instead it will establish mechanisms to relocate this production to other markets that are willing to cooperate properly. The official added that the application of artificial tops will lead to a sharp rise in prices and a serious imbalance in the world economy. TeleSUR will dedicate its coverage of the Football World Cup Qatar 2022 to the figure of Diego Armando Maradona, who accompanied our crew in the last 2 World Cups. With the football star, we also toured our continent with the show De Sur de Viajero. We want this tribute to have its own music. With that in mind, we invite you to write or compose a song for TeleSUR's coverage of Qatar 2022 Football World Cup. It must be an original song, never recorded before or published in any media, and free of legal attachments. Record the song in any format, WAV, MP3, even with your cell phone, and send it as an attachment to comunicaciones@telesurtv.net with the following information: author's name, nationality, and the title of the song. With the closing date of the call for entries is September 10th, 2022. A jury of prestigious musicians and composers from the region will select the winning piece. The prize will be the recording of the song, a video clip, and the wide diffusion of the work. 1 week after the closing of the call, TeleSUR will announce the results. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The Caribbean Community, Caricom Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett said on Thursday that there is a need to strengthen and streamline the infrastructure to support trade between Africa and Caricom. The statement was made at the opening of the first Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum in Bridgetown, Barbados. In her opening remarks, Barnett described the event as an important first step that will build bilateral cooperation and promote trade, investment, technology, transfer, innovation, tourism, culture, and other services. The Caricom Secretary General stressed that market represented by the African Continental Free Trade Arrangement is set to reach $6.7 trillion in value by 2035. She emphasized that merchandise trade within the Caricom single market stood at $2.2 billion in 2018, and with decisive steps taken recently to reduce non-tariff barriers, especially in agriculture, the organization expects further growth in the period ahead.
Caricom are determined to advance our single market and extend our trade and investment arrangements to drive trade and economic growth, and look forward to further deepening of our partnerships with our friends, neighbors, brothers and sisters in Africa.
Kenyan Supreme Court could nullify the presidential elections after ordering the recount of votes cast at 15 polling stations in the August elections. The order was issued by the judiciary after they indicated that there were alleged irregularities in the results. For his part, President-elect William Ruto asked the court that nullifying the election result will set a dangerous precedent for national politics. The Supreme Court annulled President Uhuru Kenyatta's victory in 2017 for irregularities and ordered a rerun election after Raila Odinga challenged his victory. A library for women has been opened in Kabul, Afghanistan, offering free books and a safe place for them to read, discuss and study in an effort to push back against the education inequality in the country. The founders of the Sun Library, Solia Parsi and Leila Bazim, said they opened the institution in an attempt to empower women through education, despite increasing restrictions on female schooling. The Taliban had announced in March that they will close the secondary schools for girls from the 7th to the 12th grades. The Zion Library's long-term plan includes having authors and poets offer free classes for impoverished girls, who spend their days polishing shoes and selling small items on the streets. The founders of the library said they want to show the resistance of women by other means, which is the library for women.
Unfortunately, the Taliban has removed women from all social activities, civic jobs. They could have let schools for girls remain open. They haven't answered any of our questions. So we want to show the resistance of women by other means, which is this library for women. When we protested for girls' schools last time, August 13, we were threatened and chased by the Taliban. They beat most of the girls. We thought if girls cannot go to school, we should have a kind of place for them to read and study.
Guinea's ruling junta has told the Confederation of African Football Mission, the CAF, that it will meet the timetable for staging the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. The football entity sent a team to the West African nation to assess its progress for hosting the tournament. Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, who appointed himself as president after taking power in a coup in September 2021, met with the scrutineers on Wednesday. The CAF team held out the possibility of postponing the tournament until 2026 or 2027. However, Doumbouya said his government has made this sports event a national priority to be held in 2025. Hosting Africa's biggest sporting event is a major challenge for Guinea, which suffers a chronic lack of sporting and transport infrastructure and has a long history of political turbulence. Guinea was originally scheduled to stage the Africa Cup of Nations in 2023, but it was pushed back by 2 years when the list of organizing nations was reshuffled in 2018. The 2023 event will be hosted by Ivory Coast. According to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, there are still some 244 million children out of school in the world, a lower figure than 20 years ago, but still a cause for concern. Of the 244 million children from 6 to 8 years of age out of school, more than 40% live in sub-Saharan Africa, especially in Nigeria, Ethiopia, Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Kenya, according to UNESCO. Although the situation has improved compared to the year 2000, this scourge is now characterized by regional disparity, with Africa being the most affected region. In the words of the Secretary General of the Paris-based organization, no one can accept this situation. Education is a right, and we must do everything possible to ensure that all children are respected. TeleSUR English continues to grow. Its signal now reaches Europe. You can order it from your cable dealer or tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on the screen are in place since July 1st. Quite soon, further changes will be implemented for the signals in the Middle East and Africa. Now, more than ever, the world connects to us, and our stories are heard in other farther away nations. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to our audience. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. And now you can also follow us on TikTok account at telesurenglish.net, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.
TeleSUR